Hello, hello, everybody. How are you doing? It's been a while. I am Jennifer Hart, hence my new. Do you like my new sign over here? I'm super excited about it. Um, I was like, I saw it and I couldn't pass it up. If you don't know me, I'm Jennifer Hart, and my mission in the world is to just connect people and information together for the purposes of learning, growing, achieving spirituality, personal development. And it's crazy because Melissa and I have been doing this Wellness Wednesday. We missed a couple because we had some stuff going on. And we were doing Wellness Wednesday, where we come every Wednesday. Time has been a little varied. And we were planning on doing one today. And when I woke up this morning, I, checked into my Facebook and it said that on this day, 1 year ago, that I did my very first live that started the Jennifer Hart, which ended up being Jennifer Hart Connected now, because connectedness is my thing. And it was also in part or mostly because of a session I had did with Melissa the day before 1 year ago, where we did my first limited belief release. And then I loved it so much, and it cleared up some stuff that allowed me to come online and be visible and start sharing my gifts with the world. And so we talked about it, and I brought her on, and she was my very first guest. And it's so awesome because she's here again with me today. And today we are going to be talking about my intensive release session that I did with her last month, which was phenomenal. And just how powerful and impactful it is when you're just looking at yourself in the world of like, what can you explore? What things maybe need to be healed that you don't even know are there, and how it could be holding you back in life. So, if you don't know Melissa, she's amazing. She's multi-talented. She is an intuitive. She's a Reiki healer. She's an NLP practitioner. I always get those mixed up. She has a background in education with a master's, and she's been a teacher. She's a mindfulness coach and an inner transformation coach. Did I miss anything? I did.
Well, NLP and root cause release, right? Because that's
Root cause release, right? I always
like
pair them
foundation.
together, but they're actually separate things. So thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. Yeah. So Melissa and I met a long time ago. Let's just recap our story because it's been exactly 1 year, which is it's so exciting and so phenomenal. That a year has already passed by. And one thing I just want to say is I was thinking about this. Maybe I haven't achieved what I want with this live yet, or this show, as I call it. I don't know what else to call it. But the fact is that I just want to celebrate that I got started and that I did it. And 1 year ago, I did it, and I've been kind of, in ebb and flow with it. Like I disappeared for a while, but I just want to celebrate right now that like I did the first one. And hopefully today there's something that's on your mind as I'm talking that you're like, you know what, if I just do it today, like at least I'm getting started, because there's like magic to that. There's momentum, there's action. It's opened up so many doors. I've met so many people. I'm growing my business through it, and it's all because I did it one day.
Yes.
And then I continue to move forward, even if it's not always at the speed that I want. But showing up is half the battle. Like today, I'll be honest, I didn't feel like doing it. I was like, oh, I want to cancel. No one knows we're coming. Like I, have lady things going on, and I'm just feeling so drained. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, no, we got people waiting to hear the information. Like, so,
and it's your 1 year anniversary, right? Like we gotta celebrate.
I was like, I got my pom-pom out.
I know. I have mine at home, unfortunately. I'm like, I need it here so I can celebrate with you. But I wanted to say that too, Jen, that just, I want to applaud you and speak to what you were saying, because for anybody who's been sitting on, a dream, an idea, a vision, something that they're like dying to put out in the world, or just anything, like something you want to learn or a new step you want to take,
or start exercising.
Like, yeah, anything, literally, like a small change you want to make in your life, right? Like it's really about that, like taking imperfect action and just moving the needle just a little bit, right? Even if it's that 1%, right? If you move the needle 1% every single day for 100 days, guess what? Like that's 100%. And it's really taking that imperfect action creates that momentum, right? Because if we get stuck in the analysis paralysis or like, oh, it's not ready, I'm not, all of that, then we're never going to move forward. We're never going to start. Right. And one of my favorite YouTubers who now has close to 5 million viewers and subscribers. Yeah. But I started watching her when she first started, which is awesome. Like I've followed her journey and it's really cool. But she actually shared that her mentor told her that if you are really happy and satisfied with the first thing you put out there, you waited too long.
I love that.
I know. I was like, that's awesome.
It really is. And perfectionism for me is the killer of dreams. Like there's so many things that I have to do and accomplish and grow in a business and getting my mission and my vision out, impacting the world on a big level. And I look back and I'm like, it's perfectionism that stopped me. And if I just push the go live button, as an analogy, things start to happen, and you got to dance in the conversation of what and navigate it. You know what I mean? As you go along. And I've messed up. Oh my gosh. Like I showed up and there's a, who knew this was going to be like a reunion series, but I interviewed one guest and I forgot to hit the podcast. Like I didn't do it correctly. And I call him and we're celebrating. And then someone was like, "You're still live." And I was like, "What?" And I was just like, well, I'm human. Like, and that's the thing is like, we are going to F it up. Like we're going to mess things up, and perfectionism isn't really true. Like things can seem like they're perfect, but they're not. And so anyways, I've totally digressed off of what we were talking about, but
oh, good.
the point was just, if you have something on your mind, just do one small thing for it today. And you can do it. And if you're going to mess up, I'm going to tell you that right now, like you are going to mess something up and it is okay. So anyways, what we wanted to talk about is when we left our last Wellness Wednesday, we had shared about we were going to be doing an intensive release. So the point of the Wellness Wednesday is to just share information that might help people move forward in their life. And we talk about essential oils, we talk about health stuff, we talk about a lot about the subconscious mind, and Melissa is a root cause release specialist, or I don't know what the proper term would be. And 1 year ago today, we did our first live about a limited belief release that I did. And that helped me. I didn't realize that I had a little block there, and it helped me to push that live button the first time. And so I felt like I had a lot of stuff that's built up. I do a lot of work all the time. And I'm always just curious about how else or what else can I look at and see, and just to open myself up even more. Because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with me. I'm just saying there's always an opportunity to improve some things or heal some things. And so we got together and we did this intensive release. And instead of just doing one little belief over the span of like an hour, we got together and we were with each other for 11 and a half hours. And it was like insane, but it was awesome.
It's a party.
We brought our essential oils, we're smelling them, or we're putting them on, and like, they help with like the emotional piece of things and to open things up and to release. And I don't know, should we tell them about them? Like, what do you think we should share about this, Melissa? Like, what do people
well, I mean, I could explain what it is first of all if people want to know, because I think they're kind of going to be like, well, what are you talking about? So and I'm going to be really honest here, when I was trained in it, my teachers and mentors call it an intensive release. For me, I'm kind of shifting the name and so for me, it's more like a VIP experience, and I'm actually calling it release, rewire, and recommit. Because it's all about really recommitting to yourself, and it's making this big commitment and taking this big step to really align yourself. And I love what you said, Jen, about like there's nothing wrong with me, and that's absolutely true. Like I want everybody to know that there is nothing wrong with you. You are amazing, beautiful, and perfect just as you are. And there might be things getting in the way of you living in your fullest expression and really like fully aligning with your purpose and who who you really want to be, right? And what you want to, how you want to show up in the world, right? So that's why we do this kind of work. And with this VIP experience, right? So like Jen said, rather than doing one little thing at a time, right? So I've worked with people before where I do like these 3-month coaching kind of packages or whatever, where, you know, we do like one release every week, that kind of thing. And we pick like one belief, one emotion, one block, one thing that's happening, right? Could be a physical ailment or whatever it is. And it's great, right? And people they get shifts, like Jen mentioned, right? Like we did one release on her, and that helped her release this visibility block, and she was able to come on live. And that's amazing because it does create a ripple, right? And I'm always looking to give more value and to really show up in the best possible way for my clients. And that also feels good for me, right? It's like this beautiful energy exchange. And it might sound like a lot, like when you talk about 11 and a half hours, like that sounds insane. But really, it's such a beautiful and powerful experience. And the shift that you get from that is way more powerful than doing it like that week to week, because each week, you know, you're only taking one little thing. But what we do with this VIP experience is we pick an area of life, and different modalities talk about different areas of life. So for the purpose of this, we talk about 8 areas of life. And there's career, finances, family, health and fitness, social life. So that includes like friends and colleagues and all of that, personal development and spirituality. Did I miss one? Oh, intimate relationships. Because we break up the different relationships, and for that, and that's because we each have a different internal representation. So we have different beliefs, different emotions around different areas of life. And each type of relationship has created different types of beliefs. So anyway, what we do is we look at that. You kind of assess all the areas of your life and see where you are, you know, compared to where you want to be. So you kind of rate yourself. And then we take the one that you think is most impacting you, right? So it's like, if you could make a massive change, or if you could do an overhaul of this area of life, right? Which one of those would cause the most pervasive change? So I will say I have had a few done on myself. The first one I ever had done on me was on the area of intimate relationships. And it was really powerful. I was going through a divorce. I had a lot of stuff in that area of life. And it really helped ripple out into everything. So it wasn't just, you know, my intimate relationships, but it also impacted my career and finances and all the things, because that was the area that was keeping me stuck. And then I had one done on finances relatively recently, and it was actually amazing. I mean, it gave me this incredible boost. It shifted so much for me. Right after doing that release, I had my first pay in full client ever. And so just all these massive shifts, right? And it's so profound, because what you're doing is you're lighting up what we call your neural network. So if you imagine like a Christmas tree garland, you know, like the lights, they're all connected, right? Every single light is connected. And so let's say if we were doing the week to week, we would light up one bulb, right? And we would release that. But in this, we're lighting up all of it, literally all the bulbs, everything that is connected together, right? All your neural network. And then we actually go ahead, and at the end of pulling all of the stuff up, all the beliefs, all the blocks, everything that's there, we release it all in one go. And so it's so much more powerful, because you're letting go of everything that's there in that area of life. And so it's really creating a blank slate for you. And something that is super important for me is that, you know, we don't just release it. So it's not just about getting to the release point, right? Because the release is actually only like the second step. So the first step is awareness. The second step is release. And then after that, we actually do values, visions, goals, and take focused action. And I make sure that you're really moving in the right direction. Because once you create kind of that blank slate for yourself, you want to make sure that you're putting in new beliefs, a new avatar, and that you're stepping into what you want in that area of life, right? You're creating those goals for yourself. And yeah, it's super, super powerful. I mean, I have gotten a lot out of it myself, and then I've been able to now see amazing shifts in my clients as well. And Jen, I know you wanted to share a little bit about
me being one of
what
them.
you experienced.
It was so fun because I had been compiling a list of things that I saw in my life that were coming up, that were limited beliefs that needed to be shifted or released, or patterns. It was a lot of patterns, and I've been writing them down, like a notes on my phone, like things I want to explore. And so when we decided to do this session, I pulled up the notes, and I actually had them everywhere. I was looking at all these notebooks, and I came to Melissa with this huge list of things. And I took a minute, and it was really fun. I categorized it, and I kind of saw like there was like categories it fell under, and there was some like related things, and I was like, okay, like this is it. And then what we did is I brought it to Melissa. We talked about it, and we made it into even a smaller categorized theme. And the three themes were, hold on, let me think about it. I didn't bring my notes, but the first one was, I know one was organization and structure. Mm-hmm. One was like, I'm not smart enough, or I'm dumb, either way. And then these are patterns I've seen in my life show up. And then the third one was the biggest one, which was, let me just find it. I have it here somewhere. Because now it's going to bother me that I can't think of it.
It's actually so great. While you're looking for it, I just want to speak to that, because it's actually really fun that you can't remember. Because what happens is things are so in the forefront and they're bothering us so much. But once you do the release, you become dissociated to it. So you have the memories and all of that, but it no longer has a hold on you. So it's almost like you're trying to find it and it's not there. You're like, what was the issue? I love it.
Okay. It was fear and powerlessness, and that was related to just everything, self-expression mostly. So those are the three categories we went into the session with. And what you do, or what I did, let me just speak from my own experience, is I just dumped everything. So we tapped into my subconscious mind, and just memories started coming up, and she's like, tell me more. And she's documenting everything. And I just get to like dump it all. Like, and then this happened, and this happened, and I saw this. And I mean, things were coming up that I have no idea like why. I was like, I don't really know why this is coming up, but you just trust it and you share anyways. And then it would be like an epiphany, like, oh, that's how that ties in. Okay. And it was so cool and crazy. And then what we did was, after, like, it's a long process, but I gave her everything, we discuss it, she reads it back, and then you find just this one root cause pattern. And Melissa identified it. I only saw a piece of it. So this is why it's so important to work with someone else, in my opinion, because you have blind spots. And so when she read everything back to me, I took notes like, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And then as we discussed it more, she said, well, here's what I saw. And I was like, well, I'll be darned. Like, that is nailed it. Like, just nailed it. And it was exactly, as I look back at everything I shared, it all fell under there. And I will share what my root cause belief was, because there's a power of being vulnerable. So the root cause belief that I had found was that, and this is no longer, so this was at the time, I am unworthy of living a fully expressed life or having my needs, wants, and desires met. Like, of all the situations that came up, that was the underlying theme of everything I brought to the table. So then we went through the process of releasing it, and all these amazing messages came through, and it was like what I need to do to move forward and letting it go. And it was so powerful. And, at the end of it, we closed up, and then I went to bed, and I slept great. Had an amazing the next morning. Like, I did a little goddess day, and like did some self-care and just relaxed. And where the real like magic happened was when I came home and I was sharing with people. And for me, I take time to process things. So like things were like lighting up and like coming, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And then I was sharing with people, and I literally had people go, "Oh my gosh, like you look different. Like you're glowing." Like, and then my friend was like, "After seeing you, I went home and like something shifted in me. So like your shift shifted me." And I was like, "Holy crap, that's really powerful." And then motivated her to do some stuff in her life. And then another friend was like talking to me on like voice, and she's like, "I can hear a difference in you." And so it was crazy because they identified these differences, not even me. Where I did see differences of was when I was driving in the car, and this sounds so insignificant, but it's so powerful to me. And I was listening to some music on my phone, and I have music from like all the way back to the 90s and before. And, I was listening to this song and I was like, what are these lyrics? Like, why am I listening to this crap? Like, oh, my man only calls me at 3 a.m. and that's the only time he tells me he loves me. And I was like, delete, like, get this out of my life. This is not okay to be in my subconscious or my conscious mind. That just really showed me that something had shifted. Like, I'm really aware of what I'm putting in my space. And it was, I called Melissa and I told her about it because I was like, that's so crazy. Like, I just never really, like, something came over me and was like, no, this has to go. Like, that is showing your old belief. That's like, oh, someone only calls you at 3 a.m. because they're bored and whatever. And that's the only time they tell you love you. I was like, I deserve better than that. Delete that. So I thought that was really funny. And then the last thing is, I have so many, but this is the last one. I was meeting with a coach and we're working on a new program. And she was like, this program sounds like it's a value of probably $5,000 to $10,000 that you'll be charging. And I was like, okay, it sounds really great. Like, I'm ready to accept that. Like, let's do it. And before I would have been like, I had pricing issues before on pricing things that I'm going to be having services available. And I could not pick a price. And if I did, it was really low, like if even anything. And so that was so powerful. It was like an epiphany moment. Like, okay, yeah, it's $5,000 for my package. Like, there you go. And so I was just like, woo! I know. I'm just like, I love it. So anyways, we wanted to come on and share because we said we were going to take a week off to do the session, and then we would come back and share the results afterwards. And it's still progressing. Like, I am now working on my book, which I had started a year ago that I was going to get done. And it didn't happen. And there's just some things that, like Melissa said, were getting in my way. And now it's happening. I have submitted my application to have my in-person launch October 9th in Manteca at the Great Valley Book Fest. And I'm working to get my book done now in this moment. And I attribute all of that to doing this release is allowing me to move forward easier. So I just want to clarify, I could have moved forward, but it's allowing me to move forward easier, more effortlessly, and in flow.
I love that you said that. Yeah. Because, so much of the time, like even when we feel like we have success and we're moving forward and we're getting things done, a lot of the time it feels like a struggle all the time. Like, you have to will yourself to do it, right? Like, I always use this analogy of like, there's this Greek myth of this guy called Sisyphus who was doomed to push a boulder up a hill for the rest of his life. And there's a lot of people who are pushing this boulder, right, full of limiting beliefs and blocks and suppressed emotions, and they're willing themselves, like they're forcing their conscious mind, right, to go and to take action, but it feels so hard, and not realizing that they can let go of the boulder, right, and they could actually climb a lot easier and get there a lot faster, and with flow, like you said, and ease and grace. And it's just, life just feels so much more enjoyable when you're not carrying that boulder, right? And I wanted to just quickly touch on what you said about the deep root, right? So in this process, we call it like the greater problem, which is underlying, right? So it's under everything. And, Jen mentioned that, like, I picked it out, right? So So there's kind of two pieces to that. So one, obviously I'm trained in NLP and root cause release, and I'm trained to see patterns. And that's what, kind of my purpose is, to guide and facilitate and hold space and all of that. And as I'm getting all of the stories and the different things from her, I'm pulling out patterns, right? And I'm picking out everything that I'm seeing and feeling and everything I'm noticing. And I'm paying attention to the client, right? Using sensory acuity. So I'm noticing their energy, their facial expressions, everything that's happening, and what are the things that trigger them the most. And then I usually come up with a couple options of what I feel the greater problem is. And then we actually test it. We test their subconscious. And then it's really important that it feels aligned with them. So with Jen, it was really funny because the wording was slightly different, right? Like I think I said, I'm not worthy. And then her subconscious was like, almost there, right? And then it was unworthy, right? Like, and so it was like a slight shift, but it's really important that the subconscious says, yes, this is it. And there are ways that we test that. And so it's not like, I'm going to say, well, this is your greater problem. It's like, no, I'm going to pick out the patterns that I see and I heard. And then together we're going to test it and see what it actually is, and like what your subconscious says it is. And it's powerful because that then becomes the umbrella for everything that you've brought to the table. And when you release that, everything gets released along with it. So, it's like with the Christmas lights again, you're pulling the plug, and it's because they're all connected, all the lights are going to go off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you so much, Melissa, for allowing me the opportunity to do that. And I'm still feeling the shift, and I'm excited to see what transpires from it. And if anyone, I'm happy to share more in detail about my experience. If anyone's interested, send me a private message and we can get connected. Because I know when I shared the first time with the limited belief session, a lot of people reached out and wanted to know more about it. And I know a lot of people actually ended up becoming one of your clients and having amazing results themselves. So I'm always happy to share. And then if anyone would like to just connect with Melissa and hear more about it, we can drop like your calendar link in the comments or something, and they can book just like a little session to, I don't know what you call it, discovery session, I guess.
Yeah. And I will have a special Friends of Jen discount.
Hey, I love Friends of Jen discount. Always.
Just because, because you're so awesome. And thank you so much. Thank you for, for showing up so beautifully for yourself, and for allowing me to come on here and share as well. And I love what you're doing in the world, and I'm so honored to get to be a little part of your ripples.
You definitely more than a little part. So thank you to you. And thank you to everyone for letting me share, because I really do believe in the power of sharing and vulnerability, because when you share something about yourself, first of all, it makes people realize like, oh, she's human too. Oh, she has, issues, because people come on social media and they're like, oh, look at my perfect life. Here's me and my perfect thing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, let's keep it. Like, I like that part too. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to put a picture that I'm like, but I also like to keep it real. And I think that when you share vulnerable, powerful things about yourself, you really open up doors for other people, and people have their own shifts and light bulb moments. And it's like, oh, like that affected me too. Oh, I could see how that might affect me in this. And so that's why I come on and share my stories the way that I do. I feel like that is one of my callings and one of my gifts. And I love to do new things. It's going to be in my book, 30 things I did before I turned 30 changed my life. And then I'm now working on a 40 things before I turn 40, which is in March of 2022. So I didn't leave myself much time. But that's how it worked last time, was like waiting for that last minute. And then I'm like, I want to do all this stuff before I turn 30 or before I turn 40. And seriously, that is where the magic happened. And so I just want to say that today is the day to start something. Do one thing, like the 1% thing. I love that. And it's so true, So anyways, with that, thank you everybody for joining us on the 1-year anniversary of my first live, and with it being with my very first guest, Melissa. And we hope that you have an amazing day. We will chat with you soon.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.